looking behind me, and there was a caravan coming like right behind me. It was like the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I was the one closest to the landslide as it happened, and it was right behind me as I was diving. It was like a movie.
Bad news from New Zealand today, guys. We just talked yesterday about the insane devastation in Italy and Sicily and now New Zealand. And guys, whoever likes RVing, driving around with a motorhome, this hits hard to see that. I like RVing, but even if you don't, it still hits hard. Actually, 2 landslides, catastrophic landslides, happened in New Zealand. And as all the other disasters that we're seeing right now regarding flooding and storm surges, it has been triggered by heavy rainfall. And the images are really, really crazy. We even see like trees moving. A whole mountainside is coming down, and it has been caught on camera. So what is happening in New Zealand? I know I have viewers in New Zealand, so my heart goes out to you for what is happening there. We have substantial parts in New Zealand right now that have been suffering severe rainfall, and yet again causing floods and these landslides. And today, the most serious event that we can say that has happened, and hopefully it remains that, hopefully not more is happening, is at a campsite on the Bay of Plenty on the North Island of New Zealand at Mount Maunganui. That's where it has happened. So basically, and you see it on the images, the mountainside cracked and came down as a whole and has completely destroyed and covered that campsite. It's close to the coast, right? And the problem is right now, I mean, for us in North America or Europe, it's winter, but in New Zealand, that is major tourist season. That's the main summer season. So it is crowded. The campgrounds are full, the beaches are full. So that is why this is so bad. And the RV park that has been affected by this landslide, it's the Mount Maunganui Beachside Holiday Park. What we can already tell when we look at the area, you see the campground is quite flat. I'm also showing you a Google Earth picture, an aerial picture, but you see there's a mountainside, and it looks like definitely the forest has been cleared there. And it also looks like that there might have been previous landslides, but we do not know. Maybe they intentionally cleared the trees. Maybe it wasn't because there was a landslide coming down. But you know, the problem with the geology there, volcanoes. The volcanoes play a role in this because the mountain and what the mountain consists of, it's volcanic rocks. So if we have volcanic rocks, and that's the problem that we have in Santorini, Greece, for example, Santorini, the island that was a year ago, like we had a magmatic intrusion and these earthquakes and landslides coming from the cliffs. Santorini is a crater. Volcanic rock is not as stable and dense as like the Alps, for example. So if there's rain infiltrating and like a sponge blowing up these rocks, and it can act like a lubricant. That's why it is so dangerous with landslides. So it has a high landslide susceptibility from the start. If we are dealing with mountains like that, right? If whenever it is a volcano, and volcanoes itself, they can produce lahars, these dangerous mudslides. We've just seen it in Indonesia. So it does not only have to be the lava that is so highly, highly dangerous. But when we look at all these images of what is happening there right now in New Zealand. If we look at how this landslide was triggered and how it starts, it really looks like from this massive rainfall, we're dealing with a deep soaked and saturated soil that gets heavy. And if there's a crack, the weight, the gravity brings down that mass of soil, earth, rock, and everything that is on top of it, right? You see the trees moving. And also what we're seeing, huge amounts of rainwater and maybe other water is flowing through the debris. So that tells us, right, the water played a key role. So there are reports that people are missing, 6 people missing, some children missing. Authorities say what they're doing right now, all the operations that they have on site is a rescue operation. But unfortunately, I said we have 2 landslides. There was another landslide at Welcome Bay Road in Papamoa, also on the Bay of Plenty. 2 people are now confirmed to be lost. And we have multiple shallow landslides on the same hillside as it seems. What the authorities in New Zealand are saying there right now and have said, the police has given an interview, they're warning that the landslide rescue effort could take days, which is of course a critical time frame if you have 6 people still missing. We have teenagers among the missing after the landslide hit that campsite. We have confirmed at the other landslide 2 Chinese citizens are lost. So it's of course an absolute tragedy that has happened there on the North Island of New Zealand. Rescuers right now, they're working around the clock to locate people under the rubble, under this debris. Mount Maunganui is on the island's east coast, as you can see here. The site is the city of Tauranga. This is where the landslide was going towards. Officials are saying they have 25 personnel working there right now with contractors and their diggers, police dogs, as well as police operations to ensure that every inch of soil removed is worked through thorough. That's what a fire and emergency official has just said in a public interview. The problem is the scale of the disaster and the risks that are still there, that more might come down. This is unstable soil. So the risk at this site could delay further rescue efforts. That's why they said it could be days. And they say, we're trying our best. We appreciate that everybody's anxious and waiting for their loved ones and for some answers, but we also have to be very careful. That's what they're saying. The youngest teenager that is one of the missing, they say, is aged 15. They have also been looking for additional other 3 people, but the good thing is they're hoping that these 3 people were not at the campsite, that they're not there right now. So that would be good. They tell us whether that is good or bad. Hopefully nobody is in the landslide, but they say no signs of life have been detected from the rubble since they initially heard voices that were heard by first responders on Thursday. So that's a day later. We have these RVs, the recreational vehicles, and it seems one solid structure that is crushed by this landslide. Also, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has visited the site today and has also met with the affected families. And right now, they're saying New Zealand is grieving because of these 2 landslides, and everyone there is grieving with them. Luxon has promised government funds for affected areas once they reckoned up the damages. Reporters are there asking the hard questions, why the campsite evacuation had not been swifter. So the Prime Minister said there would be a public review into the circumstances. So here comes the question, I think, Did they know that this is a landslide prone area as we see in the aerial picture? Was there a previous landslide? Did they clear the trees for some reason? Clearing the trees, is that a good idea? Because then the soil gets washed out even further. Or is it looking like this because something had happened? Well, if something had happened there before and you have rain like this, yes, the question arises, should they have been evacuating or should they have done something? Right now, roads remain closed in some of the worst hit areas. Some towns are cut off of contact by land. People are warned if they need supplies not to go over landslides because there is a risk that they themselves could trigger further movement of rock and soil, but they could also be the victims of another landslide that might happen there. So no good news from New Zealand, guys. I will keep you updated. In the meantime, if you want to learn what's going on in Sicily and Italy, we have like wave storm surges up to 40 feet high that have crashed into the towns and the coast, have done large destruction like a tsunami monster. Absolutely crazy, guys. Videos here in the end screen. Stuff is happening above us, 3i Atlas, and so much more. Guys, stay safe, be prepared, and as I can always say, don't rely on officials, on campground owners, hotel owners, whatever. Be aware of your surroundings, especially if you watch my channel, right? We're more educated. Watching earthquakes, what's the tsunami risk, where's my evacuation route? You're looking at mountains in a different way, right? Is there a risk? Can something come down? Should I stay in this hotel or on that campground? Okay, it's convenient, it's near the beach, but is it worth the risk? Look at weather conditions, right? Should I stay here? Think for yourself, don't rely on others. That's the takeaway that I have from this. Stay safe, guys. Bye-bye.